Everybody's talking about the Carolina Buffalo Bills connection, the pipeline of players coming from Charlotte, North Carolina to One Bills Drive. I'll give you my take on that, and that video starts right now. Bills and Buffalo family, what's going on? It's your boy DM3 and I'm back with another video. A couple things I want to get out of the way before we get into today's topic. I hope everybody out there is being safe. I hope everybody out there is doing their part so that we can get ahead of this. We can only do this if we stay strong together and do everything that they want us to do. Wash your hands, do all that good stuff, and we'll get through this quarantine. We'll come back stronger than ever. All right, a couple things I need for you guys to do for me. Hit that subscribe button. That way you guys get notified when all of our new videos come out. Also, give me a thumbs up if you like the video. That way I know that we're putting out good content here at Built in Buffalo and you guys are enjoying our channel. Okay, it's going to be kind of a casual conversation. Everybody's talking about the past 3 seasons that we've had Brandon Beane as our general manager. He's brought in a lot of former Carolina Panther players. And as we all know, Sean McDermott was the defensive coordinator during that Super Bowl run of 2015. A lot of the players that the Bills have brought in had really good seasons in 2015. So I don't see why there's an issue with bringing in players that you're familiar with. The uncertainty of this offseason, bringing in players that you're familiar with, you kind of know what you're getting. You've had them on your roster before. A lot of the players are defensive players, so Sean McDermott's already familiar with what these guys can do in his system. And, it brings a sense of familiarity because nobody knows what's going to happen if we're going to have a full off season, if we're going to have a shortened off season, if we're going to have a shortened season. So I think looking at it in a different perspective, I think it's okay. You bring in guys that you're familiar with. Brandon Beane was there when a lot of these guys were drafted. Brandon Beane was there when a lot of these guys were coming up through the ranks, and they were progressing into veterans. So I think looking at it in this perspective is not only just, hey, they're just bringing in the good old boys from the Carolina Panthers, and why can't we go somewhere else for our players? I think it's a positive thing. I think it's nothing but positive. So let's get into the players. So first signing that we had in the offseason was Josh Norman. As we all know, the Carolina Panthers made the Super Bowl in 2015. That's when Josh Norman had his first team All-Pro year. That's the season that got him that huge contract with the Washington Redskins. Now, I don't think that Josh Norman is going to be back to the playing days of 2015, but I do think that Sean McDermott's going to get a player that's going to fit in his system, that knows the ins and outs of the scheme, and that's going to work, and he's familiar with McDermott, so that's a plus. We already signed Starla Tuilei in 2017 offseason. Again, a player that Brandon Beane was familiar with, a player that Sean McDermott was familiar with. So you're getting the camaraderie, back with the defensive coach, and Brandon Beane probably was able to work out a deal with Star pretty easily. Daryl Williams, a guy that Brandon Beane was there when he was drafted, and a guy that I think the Bills should have won after last season to kind of shore up the offensive line. They went in a couple different directions. Last season, he played kind of all over the line. He played at guard, he played at tackle, on both the left and the right side. So I think that he will be nice competition at right tackle for Cody Ford and Ty Nsekhe. So I think it's a solid addition. Mario Addison. I was on Mario Addison way back a couple months ago. I thought that there wasn't really a chance that we were going to get Yannick from the Jaguars because I think the asking price is going to be too high. And Mario Williams had his breakout season in 2015, again, under Sean McDermott. He's been nothing but a sack machine. He averages 9.5 sacks the last 4 years, something that the Bills need. Familiar with Sean McDermott's scheme. So, again, that's a plus. That's a win-win. You bring in Vernon Butler, defensive tackle. kind of a little bit of a troublemaker, has a little bit of a temper to him, but I think he'll bring a little bit of nasty to that defensive line, sort of in a way that we had with Jordan Phillips. But I do think that playing under McDermott, I do think that he can keep him in check. The culture here is what everybody's been preaching about. You know, we're bringing in all these guys with the attitudes, the Normans and the Stephon Diggs and the Vernon Butlers, but I think it's going to work well, and I think that the Bills' defensive line needs a little nasty in it, to be honest with you. Then you go to Dean Marlowe. Dean Marlowe was with the Carolina Panthers as well. He missed a season. He was inactive for one full season, but the Bills brought him in last season, and as you all know, the Bills re-signed him again this offseason. I think he's a solid depth addition, and he knows the system. So if he knows the system, he knows the defensive coach, why not bring him back? He's familiar with all of it. It saves you from having to find a free agent that may not be that familiar, or in the draft that's that familiar with your scheme. A.J. Klein. Now, A.J. Klein was with the Carolina Panthers in 2015 as well. Had a solid season, mid-50s for tackles. You know, he was very solid. Whenever Luke Kuechly was out of the game, he seemed like he could step in and fill that role. Very familiar, again, with Sean McDermott, and you know how Sean McDermott likes his athletic sideline-to-sideline linebackers. I think it's a very under-the-radar signing, and I think that signing is going to speak volumes for what the Bills are trying to do to replace Lorenzo Alexander, because A.J. Klein's he's a locker room guy. He's an off the field guy. A lot of the Saints players said that they were sad to see him go because of the presence he had in the community and inside the locker room. And last but not least, Ray McCloud. As we all know, Ray McCloud started his career with the Bills, and then he was on the Carolina Panthers last year, and now he's back with the Bills. So I think Ray has to really fight this year for a roster spot. I'm not sure if he makes it as a special teams guy. But 8 guys that I could think of off the top of my head. If I missed anybody, drop it in the comments and kind of let me know. Again, I don't have an issue with the Carolina to Buffalo pipeline. I think getting players that are familiar with the head coach, that are familiar with the scheme, familiar with the general manager, I think it's a win-win situation. And again, we don't know what's going to go on with the NFL season in 2020. We may have a shortened offseason. We may have shortened camp. We may have a shortened preseason, a regular season. So bringing in guys that you have coached before, I think, is nothing but the positive. Let me know what you think. Again, subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you guys like this video. That way we can keep continuing to pump out great content here at Built in Buffalo. As always, I'm DM3. Go Bills, and I'm out.